Google Analytics metrics are really cool. I use these all the time, especially on display and video when I'm doing some certain tests, or like new campaigns just to get a sense of how the traffic is. But you can think of these as like a secondary metric, secondary KPI, where your conversions are really going to give you insight into, is this working? Yes or no. Your competitive metrics are going to give you insight into bidding, budgeting, and scaling once you know something is doing well or could maybe do better. And then like your Google Analytics metrics, these kind of give you insight into like, all right, maybe I have a campaign that's doing really well. Here's what these metrics are. Maybe I have a new one. Let's see, if I'm not getting conversion data, let's benchmark how the traffic is behaving when they land on the site. So bounce rate is basically, did they click on the site and then leave right away without doing anything else? So it's single page visit. Now, this is not entirely accurate. People make some really, really bad things happen in their Google Analytics accounts. And I think this will probably be better with GA4 based on how it works. Maybe not. But essentially, with Google Analytics, like when someone lands on a site, sometimes they could be clicking on a dead link or anything on the page that maybe has an event attached to it, and that interaction will register as a hit. Now there's non-hit events and hit events, but a lot of people don't know the difference. They don't do it right. So bounce rate's usually pretty unreliable. Like you'll see some stores with like a 10% bounce rate. That's just probably not the case. That means 90% of people click through. It's usually not the case. So bounce rate, it's not very helpful, but again, if you figure like if it's broken, it's going to be broken on every campaign. So you can still use this to compare one campaign to another campaign in an account, or one ad group to another ad group. So, and we'll do that. We'll look at ad groups and look at bounce rate in a second. Pages per session, this one's really helpful. How many times did they click through the site to go to other pages? Now, some stores, it may make sense for it to be a small amount of pages. Some stores you might want a lot. It depends on the interaction you're trying to drive. So like if you're sending them through a funnel, which is like they click on a pre-sale page, then they go to an offer page, then they buy, you kind of want that to be pretty low. But now if you're sending them to a collection page and you're an apparel brand, you want them to look through all your products and click on this and check that out. And this may be helpful. Now this metric I found is usually very helpful when comparing campaigns, because like the higher intent traffic, depending on the store, like if you know your pages per session in a really good campaign are like 3 or 2 or something like that, and you launch a new one and it's just like flat like 1, it's not like, then you know that you're not driving the same quality traffic. But not always, because that now when you get into like networks and stuff, like display network may have high pages per session, but there's a lot lower purchase intent, so it's not always helpful. That's display and video. I'll go into that in another course, but this metric can sometimes be misleading. Same thing with average session duration. This is basically like how long were they on the site. And again, with how Google Analytics works, it's not always the case. And so this is really interesting. And then percent new sessions. This is a very, very useful metric when you're looking at things like how your campaigns are segmented and how your account is structured. So when we get into campaign types later, like branded search, non-brand search, the percent new sessions will give you some insight into basically like, is most of the salespeople that have already been on the site, right? Like, are you mostly just getting visits that came from paid social again? And you're going to find with Google Analytics, with Google Ads for the D2C e-commerce space, where a lot of the brands are commodity products that have like a brand attached to them. That's why people like them. Like all the new eyes, like all the sessions, all the first time visits, like that's all paid social. A lot of it is just spilling over into Google. And we'll talk more about that more throughout this course. But essentially, percent new sessions kind of gives you an idea into when you look at your campaigns in the all campaigns view, and there's a bunch of them, gives you some insight into that. So these are the Google Analytics metrics. Now, You can just go into Google Analytics and pull some segments and filters and do that, but this just saves so much time just pulling that stuff back into Google Ads. Really, really nice feature. This is really helpful. This is the Google Analytics metrics.